Welcome to Module 4 and the final module of District 7080's Self-Paced Foundation Qualification Training. In this module, we will cover global grant projects. Please also refer to the links to the resource page and knowledge check quiz for this module. To recap, in Module 1, we covered how members and clubs can qualify each year to apply for district and global grants and the resources that are available to help you. Module 2 covered the importance of stewardship and how the SHARE program works to provide both district and global grant funding. In Module 3, we covered 4 different grant types and how to apply for district grants. And in Module 4, we will review global grant projects. When you have finished all modules, you will be required to complete a final quiz. All participants need to achieve a score of 80%. You can retake the quiz if you do not obtain the required percentage. If it is helpful, you can access each module to recheck information at any time. A reminder that to qualify, 2 active members from each club must complete the online grant management seminar that can be found in the Learning Center in My Rotary. Upon completion, you can print off your certificate. If you have already completed the grant management seminar in a previous year, you are only required to complete the grant management recertification seminar for the current year. Both seminars have a final quiz with a required 80% pass mark. You can retake the course if you do not obtain the required percentage first time around. Finally, there are 2 other webinars that go into more detail about completing grant applications and reports, Understanding District Grant Applications and Report Writing, and Global Grant Applications and Reports. They can both be found on the Foundation's Document and Resources page on the district website. Let's start by taking a closer look at global grants. Global grant projects are long-term, large-scale projects that have a minimum project value of $30,000 US. Global grants support large international projects with sustainable, measurable outcomes in Rotary's areas of focus. If the project is in Canada, the international sponsor must be from outside of Canada. Unlike district grants, global grants have rolling timelines, so you can submit a global grant application at any time during the Rotary year. We do, however, recommend that you apply early in the Rotary year, as there have been instances where the World Fund has exhausted its available funding and applications have been returned to us to be resubmitted in the new Rotary year. Global grant projects require both a primary host sponsor club or district that is in the project country and an international sponsor club or district that's outside the project country. These grants are funded by clubs, districts, and the Rotary Foundation World Fund. Global grants require the active involvement of Rotary members. They require a community needs assessment conducted by the host club, which should be completed prior to applying for the grant. This is to ensure that the grant responds to the findings of the community assessment and that the project is designed in collaboration with the host community. Global grant projects must align with one or more of Rotary's area of focus and be measurable and sustainable, meaning that they should have a long-term impact that will continue once the Rotary project has been completed. These grants are administered by Rotary Foundation. Therefore, the applications and reports are entered online in the Grant Center in My Rotary, not our district website. Remember, you will use the Rotary International website for global grants. You will use the district website for district grants. All global grant applications are submitted in US dollars, and at least 15% of the total funding must come from outside of the project country. Links to the global grant application and report slide presentation that provides details on how to complete a global grant application and other support material can be found on the resource page at the end of this module. 2 excellent resources to help you with your global grant projects are Terms and Conditions for Rotary Foundation Global Grants document and A Guide to Global Grants. To ensure you have the most recent copy, go to the Resources tab in the My Rotary Grant Center. Always check the version date at the bottom of the first page and in some cases at the bottom of the last page. Links to these documents can also be found on the Resources page at the end of this module. You will also find a link to Developing Effective Projects on the resources page at the end of the module. It is hosted on the My Rotary website and provides a step-by-step approach to planning and organizing a project. How can applying for a global grant help your club? Everyone knows how hard members work to raise funds to serve our communities. When you include the Rotary Foundation grant funding from District and the World Fund, it makes larger scale projects possible. In the 2024-25 Rotary year, subject to availability of funds, District will once again match $1.25 US for every dollar US of District 7080 club cash to a maximum of $30,000 US per project. These amounts have returned to the same as those used for the 2022-23 Rotary year to encourage clubs to participate in more global grant projects. In addition, the Rotary Foundation will provide up to 80% World Fund match for all district-designated fund contributions. While members and non-members can contribute cash towards a global grant, it will not be matched by the Rotary Foundation nor by the district. Cash contributions cannot come from a cooperating organization, a project supplier, vendor, or anyone who benefits from the project. In fact, funds should never be collected from people who benefit from the grant. Projects must be fully funded prior to submitting the application to the TRF, and the names of all contributors and donated amounts must be clearly identified on the application. And once the grant has been approved, grant funding cannot be changed. Let's take a look at how global grants are funded. If 10 clubs from District 7080 contribute $1,000 US each, the total club cash donation will be $10,000. District will then match $1.25 for every $1 with a further $12,500, which will bring the subtotal to $22,500 US. Rotary Foundation World Fund will provide an 80% match for all DDF contributions, which will add an additional $10,000, making the total available funding for the project of $32,500 US. It's important to note that a 5% contribution to pay for processing and administrative expenses should be added to all cash contributions that are sent directly to the Rotary Foundation. This does not apply to DDF contributions. As mentioned, the minimum global grant budget is $30,000 US, and while there's no minimum World Fund match, there is a maximum match of $400,000 US. Grant sponsors can use a combination of district-designated funds, cash, and directed gifts to fund a global grant. We have noticed that since COVID, clubs are struggling to fund larger projects. We encourage clubs to be creative when putting together a project plan. Consider a phased project that breaks a larger community goal into smaller projects, which together will meet the larger project objective. Remember that each phase should be able to stand alone as a complete Rotary Global Grant or District Grant project. For the past few years, we have not contributed district-designated funds for projects where both the host and international sponsors were not clubs in our district. Effective September 2022 and subject to availability, District match US $1 for every $1 of District 7080 club donated funds to a global grant project to a maximum of $2,000 US per project per year. Because we believe that this might help clubs receive donations from clubs and districts outside of District 7080, we will continue this match for the 2024-25 Rotary year. Now let's review some of the requirements for global grants. Both clubs must qualify annually, and their districts must also be qualified. In our district, we require the primary contact plus one other club member to have qualified in the year that the global grant application is submitted to the Rotary Foundation. Both the host and international sponsor clubs must each establish a 3-person grant committee. If the application is submitted in a language other than English, it must contain an English translation for each section of the application and for all attachments. This is to ensure that all signatories understand what they are signing. And the clubs must have a separate bank account for each global grant project that includes the global grant number in the name of the account. It's important to remember that funds are 100% administered by the Rotary host club members and not a cooperating organization. Grant funds are only paid to Rotary clubs, never directly to a cooperating organization or another partner. We recommend that you make sure that the responsibilities are clearly defined in the Memorandum of Understanding for both sponsors and the cooperating organization. This agreement explains who will do what and helps manage everyone's expectations. As mentioned, global grant projects require the active participation of Rotary members from both the host and international sponsor clubs, and projects must be fully funded before they are submitted. When working with a cooperating organization, which is often a non-Rotarian organization who will help implement the project, the Rotary Foundation Code of Policies is very clear. The project sponsor must clearly demonstrate that the project is initiated, controlled, and conducted by the Rotary clubs or districts involved. Rotarians must participate in giving their time, resources, and personal involvement to the project. When Rotary Foundation funding is involved, the project is a Rotary grant project, not the cooperating organization's project to which Rotary and the Rotary Foundation have donated funding. A global grant project's total budget must be for the entire project from beginning to end. If it is only part of a cooperating organization's larger project, then the Rotary project must be able to stand alone as a separate Rotary grant project. This might mean taking a smaller portion of a larger project that can stand alone as a complete global grant project. Regarding Rotary recognition and signage, again, the Rotary Foundation Code of Policies is clear that Rotary Foundation projects should provide appropriate signage. Rotarians should include signage on or in conjunction with their projects so as to identify the role of grant sponsors and the Rotary Foundation in the grant projects. This is also included in the terms and conditions for global grant document. A budget for project signage up to $1,000 US can be included in your grant application. Rotary recognition is important. It lets our community members know what Rotary members do to make the world a better and more peaceful place. It's time to stop Rotary being the best kept secret in town. Making sure you submit your grant reports on time is essential, as overdue reports can impact the club and the district's ability to participate in grants. District governors and district foundation directors are notified every quarter of outstanding reports involving clubs in their district. Both progress and final reports are submitted through the Grant Center in My Rotary. While the host sponsor will usually complete the report as they will be implementing the project, the international sponsor is also responsible for the report and ensuring that it is submitted on time. The first progress report needs to be submitted within 12 months of receiving the first grant payment. After that, progress reports are due within 12 months of the acceptance date of the previous report. Final reports need to be submitted within 2 months of completing the project. The grant application should be opened and developed by the host club based on the results of their community needs assessment. However, we know that sometimes international sponsor clubs are quite involved in the writing of the global grant application. We recommend that a draft application using the global grant application template is used. A link is included in the resources page at the end of this module. There are also links to sample global grant applications which you may find helpful. Make sure you make use and share the resources that are available on the resources page in the Grant Center in My Rotary. Again, convenient links are available at the end of this module. Once the project has been drafted, an online grant application can be opened in the My Rotary Grant Center. This will initiate a global grant number with information about the host and international sponsor clubs and districts, the names of the primary sponsors, and other grant information. It's important that you send us an email with the grant number in the subject line, letting us know the project value and the amount of the District 7080 DDF that you'll be requesting. This information helps us to better manage our available grant funding. Send the email to the address shown on the screen, foundation@rotary7080.org. All the information from the grant template can now be copy and pasted into the online grant application in the Grant Center. Please advise the host club not to lock, sign, or submit the application until it's been reviewed by our Global Grant Advisory Committee. If they do, and the committee recommends changes, then they will need to unlock the grant, make the changes, and request signatories to re-sign the application, which can be a very lengthy process. To request an application review, send an email with the Global Grant number in the subject line to foundation@rotary7080.org and make sure you identify your club's name in the email. Once you receive the review feedback, share it with the host club to make necessary changes, and once complete, you can continue to obtain all electronic authorization signatures. In order to expedite the project application, the District 7080 Governor and District Foundation Director will be the last to sign. Once the final signatures have been entered electronically, the application will be automatically submitted to the Rotary Foundation for their review and authorization. We have found this process to be effective in improving the quality of the applications by catching discrepancies prior to the application being submitted to the Rotary Foundation. In many cases, it has also reduced the number of emails between the Rotary Foundation and clubs and improved the time it takes to receive the Rotary Foundation approval. Once the grant has been approved by the Rotary Foundation, you will receive an email from them containing detailed instructions. Because the project cannot start before all contributions have been sent, it's important to submit the funds as soon as possible and no later than 4 weeks after its approval. If the payment requirements are not met within 6 months, the Rotary Foundation will cancel the grant. Funds can be sent directly to the Rotary Foundation plus a 5% administration fee. These contributions are recognized with Paul Harris points, and the Rotary Foundation is responsible to ensure the funds are sent to the host club's project account. We recommend this method. Alternatively, if funds are sent directly to the project bank account, there is no 5% administration fee, but there is also no Paul Harris point recognition. Additionally, the administration becomes the responsibility of the project sponsors, not the Rotary Foundation. This can become problematic for the project sponsors if funds are sent and not received in the destination. Grant contributions should be submitted in equivalent Canadian dollars to the Rotary Foundation Canada address in Toronto. This is the method that is now recommended by the Rotary Foundation. If you're making payments to a club or district grant in the U.S., use U.S. dollar funds and send the funds to the Chicago address. To convert the required U.S. dollar amount to the correct Canadian dollar funds, use the Rotary International rate of exchange at the time of submitting the funds. You can use the link shown on the screen. If you're submitting funds at the end of the month, be aware that the rate could change, and it might be wise to wait until the following month's rate of exchange is available. This will prevent any over or underpayment due to fluctuating currency exchanges. Rotary International will use the same exchange rate for the entire month. A contribution form if funds are from one donor or a multiple donor form if funds are from more than one donor must be used when submitting all cash contributions. Each donor should be listed to ensure they receive recognition for their contribution. Links to these forms can be found on the resources page at the end of this module. It is imperative that you identify the grant number, name of the donor, and the donor ID number, club name and ID, and all requested information with every payment to ensure proper allocation of funds and to avoid extensive delays. A few final reminders. Always use your global grant number in the subject line when communicating with us. We have many grants each year, and referring to my club's grant doesn't help us to determine which grant is yours. When you know that you'll be applying for the global grant, don't forget to send us an email with the estimated project value and DDF amount you'll be requesting. Be proactive with completing and submitting your progress and final reports on time. Remind your host club of the upcoming report due dates and offer your help. If you plan to use photos that include people in your report, please ensure that you obtain their permission, otherwise do not include them. Retain all documents pertaining to your project for 7 years. These include agreements, receipts, bank statements, contracts, quotes, the memorandum of understanding, the community assessment, and more. And don't forget that invoices are not receipts unless they've been marked as paid. Congratulations, you have completed the last module for the District 7080's Foundation Qualification Training, Module 4 on Global Grants. Please refer to the Resources page for Module 4 and complete the knowledge check before moving on to the final quiz. A reminder that you will be required to achieve a score of at least 80% on the final quiz. You can retake the quiz if you do not obtain the required percentage. If it's helpful, you can also access each of the modules to recheck information at any time.